Hi folks, Coops here from Energia in Australia. I want to talk today a little bit about recovery from athletic training, especially for older lifters, older athletes. I started weightlifting only when I was in my 40s. I trained a bit when I was in my late teens for mountaineering and rock climbing, but I never really lifted too hard and heavy and long. It was only in my 40s I started doing that and progressed very quickly, as is typical when you first start training, no matter what age. But, after maybe 10 years or so of training, I've found that I've had to learn new ways of recovering, of continuing to gain and progress, of overcoming plateaus, both in terms of lifting PRs, achieving better lifting, better weights, as well as overall muscle mass, strength, fitness, and so forth. The first thing you notice when you're older is that it takes longer to recover, and you need to allow for that as you get older. There are kind of three levels at which there needs to be recovery. There's first just the basic muscle recovery, and in some ways that's quite simple. Muscles recover quite well, especially if they're fed well, and especially if they rest well. But a second issue, and this becomes more of a pressing issue as you get older, is joint recovery. Joints suffer so much more as you get older, and they tend to require longer to recover. Joints like the shoulder, very complex joint, the elbow, the lower back and hips, and of course the knees. These get a lot of damage through heavy lifting, through high volume, through high intensity, or if you're into impact sports, running and so forth, they get a lot of hits that way too. So joint recovery, you'll need longer for your joints to recover. The third level of recovery you need to pay attention to is what the specialists call systems recovery, kind of whole nervous system recovery. When you train hard for a long time and you don't give yourself a break, you get run down, you become injury prone, you overtrain. Overtraining is not just a problem with too much training of the muscles or too much training of the joints, but too much stress on the entire system of the body. And when that gets overtrained, it takes much longer to recover than simply joints or muscles do when they get stressed. So you need to attend to all those three areas. You need to make sure that you're resting, that your nutrition intake is proper, that your volume and intensity loads are appropriate to your goals, but also appropriate to your ability to recover. Less is usually more as you get older. Maybe you used to train 5 days a week of heavy lifting. Well, maybe you can still train 5 days a week, but maybe you have to cut it back to once or twice a week of heavy lifting, say the big lifts like squats, front and back, deadlifts, maybe power cleans. Overhead work can become very stressful on joints, the military press and other such presses. Bench presses can take a heavy toll on the shoulders and the inner shoulder in particular. So you've got to watch all of that and take great care. You can see the shoulder particularly is a very complex joint. Have a look at it there. Numerous tendons meet at that point. The ball and socket of the shoulder fits in the double kind of joint created by the scapula and the clavicle. And then in and around that you've got some 12 different muscles. The rotator cuff group, the deltoid group, the trapezius, covered in front by the pecs. So it's a very complex joint. It can suffer greatly. And those of you who've done a lot of overhead work or a lot of bench pressing know as you hit your 40s, 50s, 60s, your shoulders can really get ragged. So pay attention to recovery in those three areas. Remember, less is more. Try decreasing your volume or intensity, mixing it up a little bit. Go lighter with longer reps, longer sets, and more sets. Instead of 3 or 4 sets of really heavy lifts, try 5 or 6 sets of lighter lifts and more reps. See how that works for you. You'll find supersetting works incredibly well as you get older too. Keeps the heart rate going. It's good cardio work. You'll find that it keeps, if you like, it keeps the muscles pumped for longer. You've got really good pump through the muscles. And so supersetting is just it proves itself in its value as you become an older lifter. Supersetting, complexes, and plenty of recovery. Get into the sea every now and again if you can, if you live by the sea, as many of us do here in Australia. Let that cold water soothe your body. Save up and pay for a massage. Does tremendous wonders. Just make sure it's a decent massage that gets deep into muscle tissue. Better to spend a bit more time in one area than trying to work the whole body in a massage and find that it's just superficial massage anyway. Well, I hope that helps, and I hope it encourages you who are older lifters, because you can get stronger and keep making progress well past your 50s, let me assure you. Take it easy, signing out from Australia.